Today is the day, another week. It's time to go inside EMS. I am your host, Chris Cebollero. And, maybe you're watching us on video. If you're not, go ahead and check us out at EMS1 Video on YouTube. We're doing a lot of the shows lately, so you get to see what Kelly and I look like. That's what he looks like on his world tour of getting in shape after suffering a pulmonary embolism, deep vein thrombosis, horrible personality disorder, and anything else that we can throw in there. KG, how you been doing over the past couple of weeks?
I'm getting better, man. Doing well. I just did a pretty lengthy car drive just the last couple of days to get to the conference I've been at. I'm at the Swamp Rabbit Pre-Hospital Medicine Conference in Greenville, South Carolina right now. So
yeah, what is that, like 6 days by foot if you didn't drive there, right?
It's a 12-hour drive, but with the vagaries of airline travel and the airports I have to go through, I'd have been in airports for 9 hours. So
yeah. So you look good, man.
6 and 1/2 dozen.
Looks
Well,
like
you know what they say,
the
the camera adds 150 pounds.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Well, come on, man. Permit me my illusions. Yeah, I've dropped a little bit of weight. Not as much as I want. It's a long process. It'll keep going, but
yeah, it's a lifestyle change, man. That's
yes, indeed. Yes, it is.
All right, so today we've got a great show. We've been doing this show for a long time now, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's great that we have the opportunity to meet people who are doing great things inside EMS, hence the name of the show. And I want to introduce Brian Hathaway. He is the president and CEO of Spirit EMS in Ohio. We're going to talk a little bit about his EMT program. He has a free EMT program that he offers to the citizens of the community, and we'll talk specifics about that. And maybe we talk a little bit about EMS education. But Brian, I want to welcome you to the world famous, the internationally recognized Inside EMS podcast.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here with you.
I was going to hope you were going to say something, because this is the interactive portion of the podcast where we need to get your feedback.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. And you do have. I do want to talk about your program. You do have free EMT classes, and you've been doing these forever. And we'll talk specifically about the course, the program, how people can get involved, what it means to everybody who's involved in that. And I apologize for the phone, everyone. But maybe we start off about that. Brian, I know that Kelly Grayson is an EMT educator as well on his own right, and this may be the time to kind of compare some knowledge. I mean, we've changed kind of EMS or EMT education over the years. Skill sheets, let's do away with them. Doing more of the skills assessments inside the course. So maybe just from your standpoint, my first question to you would be, how has EMT education changed over the past 5 or 10 years?
So I think there's a lot of things that have changed. And what we used to, when I went through EMT school, I won't tell you how long ago that was. But if we brought a patient into the emergency room and they weren't on a backboard, we would be crucified for not having them on a backboard. And so now just to bring them in when they're in a C-collar is more of the norm. So I think that there's a lot of different things that have continued to change and evolve, and our educators in the classroom are constantly having to keep up with those things and making sure that as studies come out that we're doing the very best for these patients, and then also providing that education to those of us that have been doing it for many years, that we certainly have to change with the times.
Brian, I've got a follow-up for that. We've in the last 10 years, we've had a pretty big sea change in how EMS education is delivered with the release of the EMS educational standards and getting away from curricula-based to more outcomes and competency-based education. And now, within the last few years, they've done away with the skill sheets. And boy, there was I'm sure you heard it in Ohio, there was a hue and cry, oh my God, what are we going to do without the skill sheets? Have you run into any problems? Did we not need them all along? Or do you feel there's still something missing and that we need to go back to that kind of thing?
So I think, as we educate in the classroom and make sure that people are comfortable and competent in their skills, and we're making sure that we're doing that good head to toe assessment on the patients, that's the ultimate important thing. Memorizing 43 things on a skill sheet to make sure that, we've touched everything is not necessarily applicable to every patient that we're taking care of. And so, as we see new people coming through class, and they're, some of the instructors that may refer to that skill sheet, in teaching, but then ultimately when they go to do their assessment, I'm always looking for the fact of, do I feel comfortable that this patient, or if this person taking care of me and I was the patient, that they do a good job. So I think, that's really what you have to look at nowadays.
Brian, you look like you were going to say something, Kelly. You opened your mouth.
No,
so
no, go ahead.
I don't know if you were gasping for
air. I do that occasionally.
It was the guppy breathing. Is that what it is?
It's the guppy breathing. It's the remnants of the PE.
Okay, I'm with you. Okay, good. So, Brian, when we think about EMT education, one of the things as an EMS leader is we're always trying to figure out how to engage and how to motivate the workforce, right? So even before they get to the workforce, with the new generation who's coming in for EMS education, or is it different? Are they, the same types of student? Are we having to change our style now of education and how we deliver education for the newer generation? I mean, what are you seeing? And Kelly, it'd be interesting to know, maybe from your side, I don't mean to cut you off, Brian, but maybe from your side, answer the same question so we can get some parallels between the East Coast and so on.
Yeah, so I would say definitely the delivery has changed. And, I think I've got a daughter that's going to graduate from high school tomorrow. And so adapting and acting to the younger generation and getting them involved, but they are much more on a level of appreciation. They want to be appreciated for everything that they do. And so as we're doing education, and we've done education over the last several years, we've tried to adapt to that and just really show the appreciation for them and really show them where the goal is. 2 years ago, in particular, we gave away a car to our EMT class for those that would have perfect attendance, maintain an 80% in class, and pass the National Registry test on the first attempt. So again, you're just having to get more creative these days to get people involved and wanting to do the EMS career. I just was at a state EMS board meeting a few weeks ago and learned that the average age of an EMT in the state of Ohio is 43. That is scary.
Wow. Yeah.
My concern is we've got to get people involved, and we've got to continue to change with the times, or it's going to be a competition when I'm in the nursing home 25, 30 years from now as to who's going to get out of bed and respond to the call if we don't do something now.
It's funny, I'm going to probably be the first one to say this to you. You are the Oprah Winfrey of EMS education. You get a car and you get
a car. You get a car. I've got to up my game, man. I thought I was doing well by getting all the students their own response bag and giving the valedictorian an Echo Core stethoscope. But damn, a car, man, it must be like sweet grant money there. But honestly, my experience reflects your own. We're the workforce that we're trying to cultivate now is not the same people that we were. They're a different generation. They're not even millennials. Most of them are Gen Z. They were raised on technology and the old standard brick and mortar classroom and desks and go through your textbook and follow along with me crap. Well, it didn't work that well in the first place, and it certainly doesn't work now.
Walking uphill both ways in the snow.
Yeah, and by God, being grateful. That doesn't work. So things that were no-nos in the classroom when I went through EMT school and rules that I imposed, ironclad rules that I imposed for years are no longer applicable, like turn your cell phones off. I'll let kids use cell phones in class as long as they're using the cell phone for class, because the generation of people we're teaching now they don't access and process information the same way we did. They've got a device with the sum total of human knowledge at their fingertips. And we need to teach them to use it for something besides Instagram and cat pictures and arguing with each other. So these kind of things where what used to be considered a distraction in classes is how these kids are getting the information, and how they're, I can spout out a random factoid in class, and Brian, you've probably gone through the same thing. I could spit out a factoid in class, and before I've got it out of my mouth, I've got students looking it up and fact checking me, and they can actually, they're savvy enough that they can actually engage in animated and interactive discussion with you from multiple sources. Yeah,
we do a lot of fact checking on the show of Kelly Grayson too, Brian, by the way. So, but I think that you guys,
and I always win.
Whatever. But I think that one of the
I'll
things
Google that.
Yeah, that's right. Google to see how many times Kelly Grayson's right. But one of the reasons that you're here is really to kind of talk about the program. I mean, you told us a little bit about it. I do want to touch on the specifics. Free EMT classes, 6 weeks. Next one's actually starting June 12th. So Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. You need to have a high school diploma or GED, reliable transportation. So you've been doing this for since 2017. There's been about $900,000 given away in grant monies to do this. Tell us a little bit about this program. They say that there's no work commitment. Does that just mean they don't have to work for you? Does that mean that they don't have to have X amount of time when they work with you?
Yeah, so really what we started out in 2017 doing was the scholarship program. And the scholarship meant that there was a commitment to us and that they had to work for us on a full-time basis. But again, as we talked earlier in the podcast, times are changing. And so this is the first time that we've actually done free EMT classes. And really our feeling is, or my feeling, in Darke County, Ohio, we're a very rural agricultural area. And so I joke and say we've harvested from the cornfields of our county, we have to plant a new crop. And so as I've got like I said, a daughter that's a senior, and she's really concerned about the fact of what's this going to cost, what's college going to cost, and just really what debt will be. And so as we talked about that as a management team, I said, really, we've gotten a good handle on how do we show appreciation to our workforce and how do we get people that want to come work for us. So I said, let's try a free EMT class this time around, and hopefully we can plant a new crop, get people that maybe want to do this part-time and not full-time, because we know we don't get rich doing this job. And so with that, it just was really a different type of thinking than what we first started in 2017.
Brian, I'm curious, is when you offer these classes for free, do you have higher attrition? Do you find that and this may be, you may screen very well, but do you find that some of your students, because they don't put a whole lot of value in the education, they don't put out try their best because they have no skin in the game? Have you found that to be the case at least sometime?
Well, I think that's really going to be a trial in this class coming up on the 12th of June, because prior to this, we had always done the scholarships where they were going to have to work for a period of 1 year to 2 years of time. And so whereas this free class is time that we've really tried this to see exactly, how it works. But my feeling is I have the cost of an instructor, whether it's one student or whether it's 15 students.
You're not losing any money, that's for certain. Yeah. I
Right.
have a addendum to that. You're doing this in 6 weeks, and that's stout, man. More power to you. But that's like drinking from the fire hose. How are you structuring your class to get it done in 6 weeks. These kids are going to class Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. It's a full-time job. Is it hybrid, flipped classroom? How are you managing to structure it so that they get the time and the work in?
So, in Ohio, we have the requirement of they have to at least have 150 hours of class. And so we're far exceeding that if you do the math of 40 times 6. And so again, if they start to have struggles with a certain chapter, that kind of thing, then we're looking at that. We also do some pre-testing to make sure that they're going to be able to digest the information, and maybe they would be a better candidate for a night class, weekend class that's on a little bit slower level. But if we really feel that they have the ability to drink from that fire hose, will apply themselves at night after they're done with class to be studying for the next day, then those are the candidates that go through that type of class. And then those that may take a little bit more time, that's for those night and weekend programs.
Okay, so they have alternatives if they can't quite keep up the pace of the boot camp style.
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, good. So let me ask you this question. When we think about recruiting, when we think about retention, when we think about trying to get the employees that everybody seems to be fighting for, how has this helped or changed your recruiting, engagement, retention programs within your agency?
So I think it's done a lot. I think that back to 2017, we decided this was something that we were going to try. But I think the biggest thing that we have to realize, and we've come to realize in the private sector of EMS, is that all of these funds, that $900,000 that has not came from any type of grant or anything like that we've got. That's out-of-pocket expense from our company. And so we have to make sure, and I think that we're holding on to those people. And so the 2-year agreement, the 1-year agreement, most people are going to hold on to, fulfilling that. But we also have to realize, and I think that we're a building block, because with reimbursement where it's at, we don't have the ability to compete with the city benefits or the municipal benefits or the hospitals that are hiring our people that we've trained well. And so really, we've just tried to come up with a schedule of, we know that we're going to be able to keep this person for 1, 2, 3 years, build them up in their career, and then allow them to move on and see them move on. And then they spread the good word that our organization is the one that helped them plant that seed. And then that seed grows for another person that becomes interested.
That's one of the things I'm flabbergasted. You've sunk almost $1 million over the last 7 years, or the last 6 years into the education and building your own workforce. And obviously it's working for you, or you wouldn't have continued down this path for 6 years. So what's the secret sauce, man? What are you doing different or approaching different, and how are you interacting with these students different than what you or other EMS educators might have done in the past that made it successful for you? What do you think has been the difference maker?
So I think the difference for us is again, we come from a rural area, a lot of agriculture. So you've got a lot of people that understand and know the work ethic that's involved. And one of the things that we've really had to adapt to is the fact of that people don't want to work overtime these days. They simply and I think want to come in and work their 3 shifts a week and be able to go home. And then the other component to that is just really showing the level of appreciation and having a diverse work culture where we do FEMA deployments, where as a private EMS organization, we do 911, we do special events. We get to, do we have races that we do We have fairs that we go to. We have concerts that we cover. So again, that diversity of being able to get their hands dirty in multiple different aspects allows us to be that organization that truly is different, and we're always thinking outside the box of how can we do it better next week, next month, and next year, and for the years to come.
Awesome. So you're giving these kids not only a well-rounded EMS education, but a well-rounded work experience as well, getting to experience EMS in all its aspects. I got to tell you, man, I'm impressed. I approached this with a little skepticism because I'm not a fan of boot camp style EMS education, and I legit worried that how people are going to treat the education if it's free and they don't have to pay anything for it, how dedicated they'd be. But obviously it works. It's working for you. So that's proof the pudding that it can be done. I want to thank you for being on the show today, because it's your answers have been rather interesting and going to cause me to reevaluate some of my thinking on the subject. But hey, you've heard what we think, guys. We'd like to hear what you think. What do you think about would you take a 240 hour boot camp style EMT course if it was offered to you for free? Do you live in the Ohio area? There's plenty of it there for you. We'd like to hear your thoughts at the show at ems1.com. Don't forget to check out our podcast videos on YouTube. And for myself, co-host Chris Cebollero, and our special guest this week, Brian Hathaway from Spirit Emergency Medical Transport in Ohio. Thanks for tuning in to Inside EMS. Gonna catch you guys next week.